it looks like we have quorum, Christina. So if whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and get this party started.
Okay. Go ahead and read the notice. Governor J.B. Pritzker's Executive Order 2021-01, as amended and extended, limits meetings to the lesser of 25 persons or 25% of the overall room capacity. Governor J.B. Pritzker's Executive Order 2020-07, as amended and extended by Executive Order 2020-33 and 2020-44, requires that public bodies take steps to provide video, audio, and/or telephonic access to meetings. The CDC recommends social distancing of at least 6 feet between persons. City Hall is currently closed to the public. To comply with these recommendations and requirements, this Police Community Relations Advisory Committee meeting is being held via Zoom while still complying with the spirit of the Open Meetings Act. A virtual advisory committee on the Police Community Relations meeting will be held on January 14th, 2021 at 5:30 via Zoom. If you'd like to attend and participate in the meeting, please email me or call and you'll provide with further instruction. After the Police Community Relations Advisory Committee meeting, a video recording will be posted on the City of Peoria YouTube channel. Anyone that cannot attend the Police Community Relations Advisory Committee meeting can send their comments to me by 12 p.m. on January 14th, 2020. The email should be labeled comment for January 14th, 2021 Advisory Committee on Police Community Relations meeting. And we ask that you include your name and contact information. Live comments will be given priority to electronically submitted comments. The agenda, minutes, and a video podcast or the meeting will be available online at the city's website.
All right, thank you, Christina. When I read that order last week at a virtual town hall, I do not want to replace you. That thing is a mouthful. So, so yeah, thank you for doing that. Now, if you could proceed with conducting our roll call, please.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Ali, Andre Allen,
Present.
Chief Boone,
Present.
Yolanda Birch, Terry Burnside, Terry. Nobody's here. Allison Galvin,
Here.
Yes.
Nina Goodges,
Present.
Nikolai Greaves, Doreen King,
Present.
Sharon Kramer, Megan Nguyen,
Present.
Tyson Parks,
Present.
Chief Theobald,
Present.
Karen Wilson, Dr. Zagardo.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Just for clarification, I see we have a call-in user 1.
It's Shalandra. I thought I heard my name, but it moved so quickly. I wasn't sure if I heard my name or not. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. We got you down. Our show was about to get on. Whoever, I'm like, who is that? So
Sorry,
cool.
I had a family emergency, so I couldn't do the regular Zoom.
Hey, no, it's all good. I appreciate you being here and the rest of the committee members today. I hope everybody's new year is starting off great. 2020 was one of them years, but it is behind us. And 2021 is starting off a little rocky, but, I'm a glass half full type of guy. And, I think it's going to be a great year for all of us, for this committee. And so we're going to continue to keep pushing forward. We're going to go ahead and dive into the approval of the minutes. Christina sent those out. Appreciate you preparing those. Did anybody have any questions, comments, concerns regarding the minutes? If not, I would like to seek a motion to approve the minutes from our last advisory board meeting.
Second.
All right. See, I heard the second by Chief Boone. Who kicked the motion off? I was seeking the motion, but I didn't kick it off though, for clarification.
This is Nina. I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Great, great. So we have a
Sorry,
motion by
I'm sorry,
Nina and second
I
by
had my
Chief
mute
Boone.
button on.
Oh, okay. So you was over there motioning it up and you muted up, Miss King. No, it's
I
all
was
good.
muted then.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So we are motioned and properly seconded. Christina, if you want to perform the roll call, please, for the vote.
Andre Allen,
Yes.
Chief Boone,
Yes, my mute button is acting funny here.
Shalonda Birch,
Yes.
Carrie Burnside,
You guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Terry.
Allison Galvin,
Present.
Nina Gugis,
Yes.
Nicola Luring King,
Yes.
Megan Nguyen,
Yes.
Tyson Parks,
Yes.
Chief Theobald,
Here.
and Dr. Zagardo.
Here. Or yes.
Okay,
All right. So thank you for the approval of those minutes. And again, thank you to Christina for preparing those. Earlier, I said, welcome, excited to have you all here. This is also an opportunity for us to do just a wellness check on our committee members. For those who are on the call, I know there are some who aren't on the call. So definitely let's continue to keep checking on each other, making sure everybody is doing well in this space, because your mental and physical well-being is very important to myself as to your other committee members as well. So if you have any things that's going on in life that you need to reach out to, feel free to reach out to myself or any of the other committee members as well too. Let's move on to unfinished business now. Christina, if you could pull up the complaint review process draft, please. This is an item for those who maybe are watching our meeting for the first time on YouTube when this is posted, that we've been working on for a while now to ensure that when we are fielded with any alleged complaints, we have the process and we are consistent with that process to ensure that we are functioning properly as a committee and to ensure that we're consistent. I think that's very important. And so we've brought this to several meetings and we've taken feedback. I believe at our November meeting, we had some good feedback that came from Ms. King. Thank you so much for your suggestions and some others that sent me some things. And then between myself and Maz, we came up with the draft. So you all have had a copy of this draft since after that November meeting. Hopefully you have had an opportunity to review it. And I did send it again yesterday just to have another pair of eyes on it. And so this is the draft process or the complaint review process in front of us. I'm going to just give it a quick overview again for those who might be watching this for the first time on YouTube, just so they can kind of be aware of what's going on. Essentially, what you have here is the ordinance as written per the municipal code of the city of Peoria on its website. And so all that verbiage that you see there is strictly from the ordinance, and it talks about the functionality of the committee, what our purpose is, and what we are supposed to do and what we are not supposed to do. If you could scroll down, please. When we go to page 2 here, again, it just kind of goes into what this process looks like. So I'm going to read each line again, just for the record. So pursuant to section 2461 of the Peoria City Code, the Advisory Committee on Police and Community Relations Advisory Committee will use the following guidelines when reviewing a complaint with a citizen after the police investigation has been completed and a decision of the citizen complaint by the Peoria Police Department has been rendered. Members of the advisory committee shall not become involved in the original investigation of the police misconduct complaint submitted by a citizen to the Peoria Police Department. After the Peoria Police Department renders a decision regarding the citizen complaint, if the citizen chooses to go to the advisory committee, then the advisory committee may review the matter with the complainant. Any member of the advisory committee can serve on a subcommittee to review a complainant decision submitted by a citizen. Committee members who serve on a subcommittee to review a complainant decision must ensure that they have no conflict of interest regarding the complainant or enact in an objective manner. Committee members who may file a complaint cannot serve on the subcommittee that reviews their complaint. Due to conflict that may transcend to the subcommittee that is reviewing the complaint, if any member of the board has a relation to the complainant slash complaint being reviewed, relative, friend, coworker, etc., then they are required to abstain from discussion or recommendation for that complaint. A subcommittee will consist of at least 3 members from the advisory committee to review complainants. And then now we go into documentation. Documentation provided by the Peoria Police Department for review of the complaint decision will be situational depending on the police decision being reviewed, but may include police reports, body cam footage, and other information related to the specific situation regarding the underlying complaint. The Peoria Police Department will make information available to the advisory committee as a group to review at their headquarters, excuse me. Information will be marked with the names of those advisory committee members present, and the information provided for review will be collected and returned to the Peoria Police Department before the advisory committee members leave. Advisory committee recommendation / non-binding opinion to the chief of police. The advisory committee will review and render a recommendation within 30 days from the time they receive a citizen request to review a complaint decision. If the advisory committee has not rendered a decision within 30 days from that date, the committee will send the complainant a status report every 30 days until a recommendation is finalized. A recommendation will be delivered to the chief of police, the complainant, once a recommendation has been rendered by the advisory committee. The recommendation by the advisory committee will include the names of the advisory committee members who reviewed the complainant, the vote tally, and the reasons for the recommendation. The chief of police will provide an update regarding the subcommittee's recommendation within 14 days. The chief of police or the chair of the advisory committee will communicate with the complainant about the outcome, of the investigation. And then internal auditing. The advisory committee will evaluate this complaint review process on an as-needed basis. The advisory committee will conduct an annual review of the number and types of complaints received, its recommendation, and the final outcomes of each complaint. The advisory committee will continually monitor patterns from potential citizens and officers regarding the complaints it receives. So this is our complaint process procedural final draft. At this time, I would like to open the floor for any discussion.
I'd like to say good job.
Thank you, Dr. Zagardo.
I second that.
I third that. This draft looks good. I appreciate all of the work that you put into it.
Coming from a lawyer, that means a lot, Nina. Thank you. And I appreciate everybody. I think that this was a true team effort, so many people involved. And so again, I think this is a good team effort. So I really appreciate that. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. King.
I guess you are chief, huh?
I don't know about that.
It's a wonderful job, but as a former ACT English instructor, in the last part where it has internal auditing, the very first bullet point,
Mm-hmm.
when you read it, you said on an as needed basis, but it says on a, so just add the end, please.
So you're saying it should be a complaint review process on an as needed basis?
Yes.
Got a
Thank
lot
you.
of attention to detail. Good job.
Yes. Keep us in shape, Ms. King. Keep us in shape. Okay. Without further discussion, I would like to seek a motion to approve our complaint process procedure at this time.
I move to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, I'll just second. Nina, you go ahead.
Okay, I move to approve the complaint procedure as presented.
I'll second. Thanks.
All right, so motion kicked off by Nina, second by Dr. Zagardo. At this time, Christina, can you perform our roll call, please?
Andre Allen,
Yay.
Chief Boone,
Yes.
Shalonda Birch, Terry Burnside,
Yes.
Allison Galvin,
Yes.
Nina Gugis,
Yes.
Doreen King,
Yes.
Megan Nguyen,
Yes.
Tyson Parks,
Yes.
Chief Theobald,
Yes.
Dr. Zagardo.
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, this is Sharon Kramer. I came in a little late. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sharon Kramer.
Hi.
And also, I think Solandra, I know she's on the call. Solandra, can you please announce how you were voting, please, for the record?
I'm sorry. I'm dealing with a situation. I missed what was happening. I apologize. Can you say what happened one more time? I'm sorry.
So we are voting in favor or not of the complaint process procedure draft as presented.
Yes, I definitely agree with it, and I did read it, and I think that you all did a great job. I don't think I could have did even a quarter of that, so great job.
I'm sure you could have, but thank you. All right, well, I think we are all set. Christina, you can stop sharing this draft. I appreciate you. And again, thank you, team, for your feedback. I think this puts us in firm footing moving forward as we receive complaints. And again, by no means is this the 10 commandments in stone. If we have a complaint that we review and we find some gaps, some holes, we can review it. We can make audibles. We'll bring it back to this body, obviously, to make a motion to properly amend it. But at least I think this gives us a good playbook as we move forward to ensure that we are consistent and we have a transparent process as well, too. So I'll work with the stakeholders at B to figure out a way to publicize this, whether that's just including it on the city's website. So that way our citizens realize that this advisory committee does have a process in place and they can be aware of that. But again, thank you all for your time and your effort on this. At this time, I would like to go ahead and move into new business and talk about our virtual town hall meeting and just have like a recap discussion. For those who are watching this on YouTube, this committee has initiated a 3-part virtual town hall series. One that just took place last week. The next one will be February 4th. And then I think the third one is March 7th, if I'm reciting those dates properly. And so we're going to just have some discussion for those who were able to attend, or if you weren't able to attend, but maybe you caught the video on YouTube. I would just love to know, your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns of how it went. So I would just like to open up the floor for discussion at this time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. King.
even though we didn't have the numbers that we would have liked to have had, I thought it was a good thing. So it's something we should continue to publicize, to make more people aware of it. But overall, I thought it was a very positive event on our part. And I know that the people who attended and participated would agree based on their input during the meeting.
Yes, I agree, Ms. King. I was concerned about it being the first week of January. And shout out to Stacy Peterson. She did a good job promoting it, but I knew that it was going to get, we knew even talking about it in some of the planning meetings that it was going to get swallowed up in Christmas and New Year's and things of that nature. But in order for us to keep up with our timeline of that first Thursday of the month, which I think works for the rest of us. We needed to make sure we executed it. So I think our February one will be more well attended as we promote it. And people are not dealing with the holiday hangover, if you will, for lack of better words. But overall, I thought it was a positive experience. We heard some good feedback and had some good discussion. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And what I'd like to get is the link to the RSVP to post on my own personal social media as soon as possible, so that we give everyone a chance to respond now, knowing that maybe they missed it the first time. So I'd like to know if there's an active link. I requested that, but I'm not sure if there was a misunderstanding in what I requested.
Janice, how
yeah.
we're proceeding is we're putting on the notice that if you would like to attend, that you're supposed to email Christina. I think, Christina, you said you'd be sending out links up until the day of, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. And then she'd send the link out to that person that wants to attend. The reason we did this is so we don't have Zoom bombings and people signing on and just trying to talk over people. We're still trying to control the muting function, and Andre having a little bit more control of what's going on and allowing people to speak. But we don't have that right now.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that, Maz. And I appreciate that we want to not mute people, but I really am concerned about getting the link out. I think it's cumbersome to ask people to email Christina. I don't want Christina to feel like she's got to send the Zoom link out to people one at a time. And I'd like us to discuss the option of promoting the Zoom link individually on our social media, and have, I just want to hear a little bit about why are we not just putting the Zoom link on our social media, or I don't know, some way to contact Christina. I'd like it now. I think posting it 24 hours in advance is I think we're going to miss a lot of the community, especially since now that it's been covered in the news, and I appreciate that it's been covered in the news, that we did have a meeting in January. I personally would like to promote this on my own social media, and I would encourage everyone else, the February and March meetings that we have scheduled, to promote more conversation. So is there a way we can, promote the meeting, still support, not having Zoom bombing, and get the message out that we really do want to hear from people? I think that if everyone has to individually contact Christina for the Zoom contact, it's just cumbersome. And I don't think that when we had the meetings in person, people had to RSVP one at a time to any particular individual. So why can't we share the Zoom link on our social media?
I'll Vice Chair Zagardo, I'll hop in there. I was on a call, and for the first time I witnessed Zoom bombing, and a woman, it was my first time like ever witnessing it, and a young woman was presenting, and literally I'm like, am I tripping? Somebody literally drew male private parts on her face as she was talking, and then it disappeared, and then they zoomed again, then they did it again, and the person was so crafty. They kept like, the host would kick them out and they would come back in under another name, and they would kick them out. Like, I think they said that if you have your own like VPN address or some type of technical term that I'm probably butchering right now. And so when I saw that, one, I felt so bad for this young woman who was giving a presentation and was literally just thrown off. You could just see it in her face. And so I definitely see why we have this process. I do think that it is that extra step. And I think I think the good thing is after this 3-part series, if we see that maybe our numbers aren't where they need to be, then we can look, hopefully after the 3-part series, we're able to return in person and we won't even be dealing with Zoom. Hopefully that is, maybe it's being too optimistic. And we know that there are people out here that target these type of meetings. And I think that given the climate of what we have going on right now in our society, I could definitely see that as well too. So I definitely agree with your comments, because we definitely want engagement and we want those numbers. But like I said, after witnessing Zoom bombing and just seeing how just disrespectful and mean people can be, I have concerns. I really do. But I definitely, other thoughts as well too, please.
I
So
just have a quick question.
I-
Sorry, go
I-
ahead, Janice.
Oh, I'm sorry, Allison. Let me just make a quick comment. I appreciate the comment, Andre, and I worry that we're making a choice between freedom of speech and having the chair not mute the entire Zoom population versus not sending the link out to everyone who might be interested. And I think we're making a false choice. I think what worries me, we have this unique opportunity to engage the whole community. And what we're doing is we're so worried about Zoom bombing that we're not sending out the link to anyone who might be interested because we don't want to mute them. Why don't we discuss muting everybody and letting the chair or the city or whoever is helping us conduct the meeting mute the people who are Zoom bombing and engage the rest of the community who has a voice that needs to be heard. I mean, I want to hear a little bit about this. I think we're creating a false dichotomy, and I think just keeping the Zoom link private is a bad idea and a bad solution to Zoom bombing. And I want to hear what other people have to say. Sorry, Allison.
Oh, no need to apologize, Janice. What you said, actually, it would have been a repetition of what I said. Either way, because I see both points. And of course, I feel so sorry for that woman, what happened to her. But if we keep, trying to also like mute people and not allow certain people in, that looks bad on our part. But we also have like, obviously, like the safety and stuff. And honestly, if someone interrupts someone while they're speaking, like with me, I don't mind if someone interrupts me at all, just because sometimes I lose my train of thought either way. And, we're only going to have then it's just going to become specific audience people or the same people, which I've seen in other meetings. And then I was just going to ask that, Bradley students are coming back next semester, or they have the option to go online. But if I could extend, the meeting stuff as well, like for February to them, because I know I've been speaking with a lot more Bradley students. I live, right next to campus. So that's all who I talk to. And a lot of them, who stay here all year round, like myself, also have concerns about the community and like the safety and stuff. So I'm not sure if we're like trying to target a specific audience or allow everyone to come to our meetings.
And I'll add a comment. And so because of this virtual town hall series is under the Open Meetings Act, we don't have the ability to mute everyone because it's seen as suppression of views or First Amendment right, whatever it is, but it's considered like a suppression. So even if for those who attended, I gave ground rules and I asked people to mute themselves as they weren't talking, but they had to physically do that themselves. They didn't have we don't have the capability, or we're not allowed to mute everybody and keep them muted like how you're probably witness at other events that you attend.
Andre, I'm going to have to correct you there. The reason that we did not mute everyone is because IT was not able to set it up. There's no suppression issues of First Amendment rights. The fact that we're trying to figure out how to mute everyone and to have some kind of decorum doesn't suppress freedom of speech. There are no issues here. We just couldn't set it up because IT doesn't know how to do it. We're trying to figure out ways to make this more. I think what happened a week ago, it went well. Everyone muted themselves and just waited to speak, and it went in a I would say pretty well no one spoke over each other. It was pretty well organized. There was less people, of course, but say if more people do come, it's going to be harder to control 50 people in one meeting via online as opposed to the 10 people that showed up at the meeting. That's just food for thought. Another thought I had is that you're saying that you can't promote the meeting without the link. That's incorrect. We put out a notice for the January meeting weeks in advance. We posted on the city's website. We can give you a copy of that notice and you can post it on all of your social media platforms. The reason we have to go through Christina is again for security reasons. This is not an opportunity for citizens to come in and bash the police. It's for citizens to express their concerns. So if they have an issue, they can obviously ask to talk and they will be called on and heard, but it's not a free form for people to hop in and destroy the purpose of why we're there.
If I can add to that, I mean, with the whole adding the aspect of bashing the police, no one said anything about that. And I don't think that that was anybody's perception. And of course, activism, I mean, that's again, part of freedom of speech. So I feel like, again, anybody, like I said, should be able to come. And if they have, you know, hard,
Allison,
strong
no one's
feelings.
disagreeing. No one's disagreeing with you. What we're trying to
No, I'm
prevent
saying, but
people-
you said that it was the idea of bashing the police. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm
Is
talking about people coming in and being able to, people that do not, there's no kind of decorum. And people come in and Zoom bomb. That's
so
what
that's
we're
what I
trying to prevent here.
Yeah, I
Not
know.
everyone being heard. That's not the issue.
No, I know, but you shouldn't have used that example because that's what I'm saying, that's why I made that comment. Because again, everyone should be able to, you know, say how they feel about the police department and any complaints, because that's what we were created for. At least that's the perception that, you know, when I was told about the committee, that's how I thought it was going to be.
So I think what I'm hearing, and I think the intent is that it's like Ms. Patel said, a security issue. I get Allison's sort of concern with the statement about, you know, that it's not an opportunity to bash the police. And I think at the heart of that concern is that we have to be really careful not to regulate the content of people's speech, because that would violate their First Amendment rights. But if it's an issue of security, like Andre said, I've also been in a meeting where there was Zoom bombing and this person posted a naked picture of someone. I mean, those are things that you do not want to have happen during a public meeting. They could potentially be very jarring to certain people who are attending. And I think that we have a duty, although we don't want to limit people's speech or ability to participate, I do think we have some sort of duty to take appropriate measures to make sure that doesn't happen. So I think it's more so guarding against that than if someone wants to come to our meetings and say whatever they want about the police, I don't think we can restrict that or take any action against that. So, but I think, again, Ms. Patel's intent was perhaps the security portion and not so much the content, the speech content portion, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Nina. That's 100% spot on what I was trying to communicate. I wasn't trying to say that people won't come in and try to complain about the police or bash the police. That's what the town hall meetings are for. I guess I should have worded it different and said instead that it's not an opportunity for someone to come on and start using swear words and cussing for 5 minutes or the allotment of time that we give them. That's not right, in which we can regulate. We can mute them if they start dropping F-bombs and start swearing and start saying F the police and blah, blah, blah for 5 minutes straight, that we're not going to allow that. And we can regulate that.
Well,
Oh,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
it's really very comforting to hear that you can mute that, because none of us want that. But I'm old enough to hearken back to an old boss when I lived in Charlottesville, Virginia, who said, Janice, don't borrow tomorrow's trouble. And I think that I don't want to be in the position of not inviting people for fear that they might act up. And I think we need to assume the best. I understand there might be some bad actors out there where we've all lived long enough to see it. But I want personally to have a conversation about the invitation. And it seems to me that we are making this unreasonably difficult for people to RSVP. So it comforts me to hear, Maz, that we can mute people. If anyone starts misbehaving, I think that's appropriate. We want to hear from people, and right now we have dead silence, and our committee feels impotent. And if and until we get people to start participating, I fear that we're going to have more turnover on this committee and we're not going to have any impact at all. So what I'd like to do is have a link, some system in place to mute the bad actors, assume that perhaps one day we will have a bad actor and have a plan in place to deal with them. But nonetheless, I'd like to have a better, broader way of inviting people to this. This is a very unique opportunity we have. As Andre said, in 3 months, we may be meeting in person once again in City Hall. That is very cumbersome and very difficult for people to get there, to have the guts to go up 4 floors, to show up at our committee. We know that's failing. And this is a very unique, maybe only 2 months until everybody gets vaccinated, opportunity to hear from people. And what I'd like the committee to be talking about more is access as opposed to bad actors. If we can mute the bad actors, that's fabulous. Let's start inviting the community so we can hear from them. That's what I'd like to talk about. More access, not less.
Janice,
like-
you were invited to the meetings that we were having with IT, and Andre, I'm pretty sure, invited you to them. So we could have had this conversation, but you didn't attend any of them. And they could have explained to you what they could and could not have done. Right now, they can't mute. Paul has told me that multiple times. They can't mute anyone. So we're trying to work on either, I think they have to purchase extra equipment or an extra license from Zoom in order for Andre or anyone else to have that ability to do that. That's something that has to be a conversation between Paul, you can join in, and Andre going further, because we can't have this conversation without IT. They're the ones that control how things work.
Can we-
This is Lorraine.
2 things real fast. One, if we can, because just to make sure that people know when people are going to talk, if you could just use the hand thing, if you have access to it, just so that way we can know who's going to talk, and I'll just call on you just to make sure that everybody gets their opportunity to talk. And then the second thing I was going to mention is, what about if we did, because it sounds like the question here is access, and so what if we created a Google Doc that would have a link that we could share on our social media that someone would click, and then we would get their information that way, and then Christina could follow up with the Zoom link to them? Is that less cumbersome than a formal email to Christina? Again, just throwing it out there, wanting thoughts, but that's another way that we could share an actual link on our social media that someone could click. I'm Andre Allen. This is my email. I want to talk. I don't want to talk. I want to be a fly on the wall. And then Christina could follow up with them. And then that information will go to a spreadsheet. So then she could literally just copy and paste the emails that request the Zoom link, and she could send it out. So that's just something that I was thinking of, and would love thoughts. And then I see we got Karen, we've got Miss King up as well too. And then Nina, were you going to say something as well?
Shalandra wants to raise her hand when everyone gets done too.
Okay. All right. I'm all right. So we got Nina, we've got Karen, Miss King, and then we've got Megan, Shalandra, and then Allison. All right, go ahead, Nina.
So I like that idea. Andre, I think that, so I don't know if anybody has done like webinars or things like that, where they click on a link, they register, and then you immediately get a link back. Instead of Christina or sending out a link, can we make that an automated process where you click it and you automatically get an email with the information that you need? I think the goal is to make things as simple for people as possible. I mean, can we do that?
Or is that might be more of an IT question? I mean, I could write that idea down and try to connect with Paul and see if that's something that we can do to make it more, because I've attended things as well too. Once you sign up, you automatically get the Zoom information in your email. And so we can definitely jot that down and take that to IT.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. Karen?
Okay, my comment, I guess, was about, yeah, we want to make this as inviting as possible. So if being able to mute people is getting a different version of Zoom, how, I don't know how much licensing costs, but could we, if it was down to, $5 or $10 a person or something to do that, or does that go back to the city? If it's just, or even using a different platform. There's tons of platforms out there. I know I do podcasts and we do StreamYard, there's all different kinds. So if we might explore using a different platform other than Zoom, I know through Unity Point, we have Microsoft Teams or something that if that's all we're concerned about is somebody coming up in there. And I was at, I guess it would have been 2 years ago when you guys did that in the 61605 and people got up there and they did show out. But anyway, yeah, you're never gonna combat against that. We just have to have a plan in action to either have security escort them out or in this case, mute them. So.
Thank you, Karen. Ms. King?
I was just going to say, since it's been pointed out that, you have to confer with IT, one thing that we can do is what Maz already recommended is we can email our friends through social media and ask them to sign up in time. And plus, this is not the last opportunity. It's not like if they don't sign up for February or March that they can't attend the meetings and provide input. They should be able to do this perpetually. We can get input from the public from infinitely. So it's not like they got just this occasion and that's it. They can always come and participate and provide input as long as they go through the system. So we can let our friends and fellow students know that, so that people who really want to participate will do it.
Thank you, Ms. King. Megan?
Hi, I just wanted to add, I help out with a couple commissions with work, and I don't know why necessarily we have to use Zoom, because there is a mute all option on both Teams and GoToMeeting. So that could be something else that we can use, another platform if we really need that function and we can't get it through Zoom. It's just thought that might help.
Thank you. Salandra?
I wanted to say that the suggestion that you mentioned about maybe collecting an email gathering, I thought that would be good. We use Microsoft Teams at my job and also WebEx. It's something that we also use, and I know that for sure the person who is the organizer has the ability to mute all or just mute specific people. Like if somebody like you're saying like, hey John, we can like hear your dog barking or something and John's not focused, like you can do that. You can also stop the chat, like if there's people who are like chatting in there too much on the side, typing, you can stop that also. And then last thing I want to say is that we are all like a team here. So it's important that we all respect each other's opinions and be fair to everyone and kind of like not be, and I know I'm sure it's not intentional, but we should be respectful when we're talking to everyone.
Thank you, Solandra. Appreciate that, your comments there. And I think that we all want the same thing, and so I appreciate you reiterating respect. That's very important. Allison?
I was gonna suggest Google form like we use Andre, how we have our volunteer form. Just, but I realized, a great thing that Nina said again was the webinar, because again, that's how they can RSVP and it's already sent. So we're not having to have Christina constantly look at the Google Doc or the Google form. Again, because I'm pretty sure everyone's swamped at work and I don't want to add more to Christina's plate. So definitely I think the webinar is like a better idea for signing up. And then I was just going to say, as for like participants to like, again, if like it's okay if we invite, because I know Bradley students aren't here year round like a majority, but if we can invite them still, because I mean they still do live here and kind of see, and most of us were encouraged by the Bradley police to stay only a certain part of the streets. They showed us a map with red streets that was a boundary to tell us not to go past or go down the hill. That was advertised to us. And honestly, I went down the hill and it was fine. Nothing happened to me. Nothing's wrong. Just because you go into a certain place. And I just want to wipe that from kids' minds, because again, that's the perception they're given when they first come to Peoria for their student orientations.
Thank you, Allison. Ms. King, your hand is raised. Is that a new raise or is that from your last raise?
That's from the last raise. I'm sorry.
No, okay, no, you're all good. I just want to make sure if you was feeling froggy, you was ready. I was just calling on you, make sure you're good. So what I'm seeing is, and I think that, Dr. Zagardo, go ahead.
Allison, you just blew my mind. I'm sorry, but I had no idea that redlining was still in practice. And I'm shocked, and I've got tears coming out of my eyes to know that Bradley is redlining our city with streets not to go to, and I'm speechless. I honestly don't even, I'm sorry, it's a totally left turn, but I don't even know what to say that Bradley would tell students, would have a map of the city with streets. So I've lived here for a long time, and I'm shocked and dismayed and disheartened and speechless.
Pastor Parks?
Yes, there's a few things that I've just noticed on this call. I haven't been to very many meetings, and this is a reality, Ms. Zagardo. Unfortunately, I've been here 2 years. These things happen. I think that this committee is trying to make some strides forward, but as we look at the chaos and confusion in the world today, it shouldn't be that unnerving. It's been perpetuated. Some things that were covert are now overt, and we must recognize it. All we can do as a committee working together as a team unit is try to change the perception and help change the culture. That's my 2 cents for what it's worth.
Thank you, Pastor Parks. Ms. King, is that a new hand or is that the same hand?
I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of it.
You just got your hands in the air. You just wave them like you just don't care, Ms. King. All right.
I was trying to
Allison?
get rid of it. I'm sorry.
No worries. Allison?
Janice, I'm so sorry that, again, that you didn't know that and that you feel saddened by it. Because, I mean, if I grew up in Peoria, born and raised here, I would feel the same way. I mean, I come from Chicago, so it's not that much different, of course. But it's unfortunate that, they teach, I mean, it was like a big map on like the screen in the new Miller Hall at Bradley Hall. And, you just saw the red lines. And when I sat there, I mean, again, I wasn't born and raised here, but I was disgusted from what I saw. I said, the fact that you have to do that obviously shows that you don't know how to police your own community, that, you're sitting there and you're like, well, this is what can help kind of prevent things from happening. I mean, that's why Bradley police only go a certain amount of, and again, I see it because I live here. They only go a certain amount of blocks, certain amount of distance, because again, too, they have to report everything that, all the stops and stuff, even though the chief here can handpick which ones to promote and which ones not to promote. So that's another thing. And that's why I have done what I've done, why I've reached out to do this committee, why I created Bradley Students United Against Violence, why I made sure to work with Peoria's Community Against Violence, because I didn't want to keep hiding behind this protective wall that someone put around me to make me think that everything was okay. So that's why I'm so passionate when it comes to the police, to the community, to outreach, because this is something that I've done in my community, in my city, and now Peoria, also my city now. I mean, for the past 5 years, it's been that I don't want that anymore. I don't want this blindfold or this mask or this hiding things behind a corner type thing. And that's why when I wrote my application for this committee, I said, I want things to come out. I don't want any more hiding. I want transparency. I want coming together. And again, like with our biases, sometimes my biases come out. Sometimes I tell myself, hey, check yourself, So this is something that I'm saying that I'm so passionate about. And this is something that I've been wanting to bring up to our committee. But yeah.
Okay, thank you, Allison. At this time, I want us to go ahead and I'm going to close the floor for discussion. I think I took some good notes. And the biggest thing is exploring different ways to make the access more accessible. And so we'll talk to the stakeholders at B. If you have continued ideas, feel free to email me those, and I'll bring those to the appropriate parties, and we can see how we can, what we can do moving forward, and we'll see what we can't do. Thank you all for your comments, though. Really appreciate it. One thing I love about us is we're all passionate, and keep that passion. Don't lose that passion. Let's move on now to our 2021 outlook. And I put this item on the agenda because I just wanted to have some discussion around, what are some, I know we have our virtual town hall series, which I think is a great tone setter for this year, but what are some other things or some ideas or some suggestions that you all feel, or maybe, where do you see this committee going this year, and just having some conversation around that. So I'll open up the floor for discussion. If anybody has any opinions or, what does 2021 look like for our advisory committee? See, got Dr. Zagardo.
Maybe we need to hit Bradley and talk to them and ask them about their feelings based on what we just heard from Mr. Parks and Allison. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be a good option as well too. We'll definitely make note of that. I see Chief Boone.
I know it'll come up sometime or another, whenever the governor signs this. But the new bill that just passed for police reform, I'm pretty sure that's going to have some sort of effect or impact on this committee this year and many years to come. So we may have to kind of talk about the impact, dive into that, because I'm pretty sure that's going to come up.
I agree, Chief Boone. Obviously it's a 750-page bill. I'm definitely going to try to dive into it as best as I can. Obviously we're going to have to get some context from legal. I'm sure Maz will bring us some things if that changes the functionality of this committee or how things are even going to look. At this time, we don't know, but I think that's a good point, and that might change the functionality of this committee. And so I think we need to be prepared for that, and I think we need to be ready to adapt appropriately. Ms. King, is that same hand, or is this a new hand?
It's the same hand, but as long as you call my name, I'll provide some input. I don't know how to get
go ahead. Go ahead, Ms.
I was
King.
just going to say, as soon as we can meet in person, that would be a good time to have traveling locations again.
Yeah, yeah, I think that the town hall series could definitely go to a physical format, and we could rotate and be in different zip codes or however we wanted to do pre-COVID. Like that'd be cool. I see I got Maz and I have Allison. Maz.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Andre. Chief Boone, thank you for mentioning the amendment to the bill. It is quite lengthy, Andre, so it might take you a while to get through it. It's about 700 plus pages. Legal's currently reading and digesting it because we need to know what's going on as well on our end. I have a few key points that I could share with the committee. It's still very lengthy, so I prefer to share it via email on the changes to you, Andre, and then you could share it with the board either way. But I'd like to keep everyone informed on what's going on because I know everyone doesn't have the time or I guess the stamina to read 700 plus pages on a bill amendment. So.
Yeah, no, we appreciate, key points, the cliff notes for sure. Definitely. So we definitely would appreciate that. Thank you. Allison?
So thank you, Chief Boone and Maj, for bringing up the reform bill. Because I feel like that reform bill is going to help us also, because I know we did the draft, how we, formalized it and everything, because I feel like that's going to change that draft that we just made and approved. So that's definitely going to be something that I feel like we should pay attention to. And thank you, Maj, for offering that as well. I would appreciate it if you guys would email that. And then another thing I was going to say was what Miss King talked about, like the traveling location. I feel like our meeting should be in different locations. Like it shouldn't just be in the 4th floor. Like Janice said, all those stairs in the city hall. I mean, I know the police, they have an open building that PCAB even has their meetings in sometimes, but we can see if we can go in there sometimes and have different people. Just find some buildings and, even abandoned ones. I mean, we can all get together and have a team bonding of repairing some of those buildings and having our meetings in them. But, just trying to hit every zip code again. And, because I think that's something that will also bring a lot of different people out to come talk about it, because not everyone has the same opinions or perception on things. And then lastly, I was saying that I think we should, for 2021, be more engaged with the community of not just technology, but like, I know it'll sound like people will be like, oh my God, political, but like mailers of saying like, hey, this is who we are and this is what we do. Because again, with COVID, if it taught us anything, is, there's so many different ways to communicate. Technology is ever growing, but I know a lot of people don't have access to a smartphone or a computer, but they do have, a place that they live. So we can be sure to mail those out to people, as a notice or like just a regular flyer we can stick on someone's door. But, I think a great thing would be also reaching people through the mail.
Yeah, thank you, Allison. Chief Theobald?
Yeah, I was just wanted to follow up on a couple things. One, and this goes back to almost, I don't want to bring up old business. I think, in reference to how the meeting went last time around here with the community, I think there was a lot of things going on in the news around that time. So maybe that, deflected some of the, people's attention away from things. So maybe we'll have better results on the next one. I'm open to this format. I think especially it is somewhat difficult to get people to places, transportation and whatnot. And a lot of people have computers now and phones or whatever. So I'm open to that. I will say, and as far as it being mentioned of a meeting at the police department, You know, we do have a lot of meetings. We have a pretty good sized room here. I just don't know how many people will get to come to the police department to talk about some of the things that we're talking about in this committee. I would hope that wouldn't happen, but I don't know if, you know, maybe we in past community meetings, you know, we have some access to some different churches and things like that that are available. You know, we could always try for one down in our community room, but I don't know if it's a complaint process. We're talking about how if everybody would be comfortable coming to the PD to talk about cops, you know. So just something to think about. I would offer it if we thought it could work. Obviously, if we can get past some of this COVID issue, we would be open for that. And I think Demario brought it up, and as well as others. Obviously, Moss, the legal team's looking at the bill. I've been quite busy and haven't had time to look through it like we all want to. The highlights, though, I will say, in reference to specifics to municipalities and policing that I've seen so far, I can tell as far as Peoria PD goes, we're hitting a lot of those marks already and have. You know, if we're talking about body cameras, we're talking about the certain training, we're talking about certain other policies that have been brought up in this bill that will be then state mandated. It's after the governor, I assume, signs it. I didn't see the news today. I assume that didn't happen yet, but the pieces of that that I've seen related to law enforcement, as far as what we have here, we've already have implemented that, and some of it for several years. So there's a lot more to it that I haven't seen, and I think there's going to be some room for improvement and some review of policy that we'll look at. A lot of it has to do with bail and pretrial releases and things, which obviously, you know, that's more the state's attorney and whatnot. But just want to give my 2 cents with that. And like Allison,
thank you.
Allison, I'm not sure how to get my hand off here. So
hands are up, and that is fine. Thank you for that context. I think you know, depending on where legal is with reviewing, you know, maybe we could put this on an agenda as an agenda item for the next meeting, just to go over those cliff notes that are emailed to us, you know, just to illustrate them in a fashion that's maybe a little bit more easy to digest. And so I could talk to you, Maz, offline about how comfortable you would be with maybe just going over some stuff that you learn between now and our February meeting. So yeah, I think that those are some good talking points. I want to keep our agenda flowing. And so we'll go ahead and close the floor on that item. And I want to go ahead and move in now into general police updates. Chief Theobald, do you have any police updates that you would like to share with us, sir?
Yeah, I can quickly go through, Andre, with reference to the information I received from professional standards here just recently. And for those that haven't been on the call, I believe Chief Marion might have mentioned this. We do have a new professional standards lieutenant at the start of this year, and that's Lieutenant Dave Armstrong. He's former detective and detective sergeant that is now a lieutenant, and he's in charge of professional standards. So, and Dave has been around as long as I have. We actually went to the academy together, so he's got 28 years of service and a lot of investigative skills behind him. But in reference to the complaints and the last quarter, just going over that, 14 complaints, and 5 of those being citizen complaints, the other 9 internally generated. Of those, without the ones pending, policy violations at alleged policy violations, to say, at 15. And keep in mind, sometimes even if it's one complaint, could have more than one policy violation that we're looking at. So that's why that number is different. And 9 sustained policy violations of those complaints that I've talked about. So that's the last quarter. And this being the last quarter too, we also have the yearly stats on that, if you'd like me to go over that, Andre.
Yeah, sure. If you want to we got some time. If you want to drop the yearly stats on us, that'd be good for the record.
Sure. So in combination with what I talked about being the last quarter here, so we're talking about the whole year now. 64 total complaints, and of those, 37 being citizen complaints, and the other 27 being internally generated. And those are ones that our supervisors are looking at things and find on their own. Alleged 87 policy violations amongst those complaints. Again, some are multiple of in one event, and 40 sustained policy violations out of that number. So that's where we're at on that. So
just for clarification. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, I just want to say that, with that number at 37 right now, for the whole year of citizen complaints, so you're talking about, you're getting about 3 a month is what we're getting on average. So that's the numbers that we're seeing. And
of the 37 citizen complaints, how many of those were sustained or upheld?
Okay. Looks like 7 and 2 withdrawn.
Thank you. Anything else, Chief?
Not in reference to that, Andre. Like I said, I have a little bit more detail there on that, but those are the numbers that were given to me here recently.
Okay. If you have anything else, you can present those as well, and then I'll open up the floor for the committee if they want to ask you any follow-up questions about your report.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. At this time, we'll open up the floor for any questions for Chief. So I'll write down names. It looks like Allison Hand is up first. Go ahead.
Chief, nice to meet you. First off, I wanted to start with that. Another thing that I wanted to express was from the complaints, more than half of those were from citizens. And the fact that we haven't even heard one upsets us because, well, at least myself, sorry, but upsets me because, there's been committee members who've been on this for more than a year, and they've said that they haven't heard one complaint, or I think Ms. King said that she heard one like a year or two ago. With Chief Marion, I know with the process, he would reach out to the citizens when they have complaints and talk to them and tell them if they disagree with it, that, they can come to the committee. I'm not, from someone who isn't a police officer, but was a police explorer and being on ride-alongs, when the minute that you see someone's badge, people were already, afraid, and I hope that changes, in the future. But with those people who were afraid, and then having them call them, and then it kind of shows them, in a sense, the community engagement is great, but then there's a whole aspect of they're afraid that, of the retaliation, or that someone's actually calling them about it, especially the chief, from the complaint, and that it didn't feel so welcoming for them to disagree with the decision. So again, why do you think that we're not able to hear those complaints that the citizens have put in?
Well, I think delivery is important, Allison, in reference to these. Sometimes if a complaint isn't sustained, it's easily explained, and it could be something that someone may complain on something that they don't understand the policy or the law on, I'm just using an example. And then once it's explained to them, this is why we do the things we do. Even though they complained initially, we still will look into it. And whether it's through a letter or a phone call to explain why it's not sustained, they're satisfied with that. I think there's going to be occasions that when someone finds out that a complaint is not sustained, that they're not happy with it. Now, I know that Chief Marion has tried to reach out to people that have had issues with that. I plan on doing the same thing. But I think that the message is getting delivered that there's something in place and a group to contact. But if you look at the numbers, like I mentioned earlier, we're not getting a lot of. If you take the thousands of police contacts that happen here in the city, some better than others. Let's put it that way. We're not getting a lot of complaints. We've seen complaints go down a lot since we've had body cameras. So if you look at the numbers that we're getting, and then how we explain it to someone who complains, whether it's sustained or unsustained, I think it's important as far as that delivery, and to reassure them that there is now something in place with your panel and someone other than the police to talk to.
Thank you, Chief. Any other follow-up questions for Chief Theobald? Ms. King, I see you got your real finger up this time, and then Dr. Zagardo. You're muted, Ms. King.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes, yep.
Okay, I just wanted to ask the chief of the 37, you said 2 were dropped, 7 were sustained. And of the total, what kinds of complaints were they? Are you able to categorize them, or are they just varied?
Yeah, Ms. King, we do categorize them, and we categorize them based on our policy of what's being investigated, with that amount of number, I'd have to go through each specifically, but obviously it kind of varies. We have a lot of rules and regulations.
No category stands out.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
No category stands out.
Well, I can say that, I can say that the internal ones usually have to do with unsatisfactory performance. So that'd be something a supervisor sees during the tour of someone's duty that they're trying to correct. And sometimes that leads to an investigation or discipline in some cases.
I meant the public ones.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
Okay, thank you.
But I guess to answer your question, there's various ones, but I would say that the generalized order, what we would call it, would be, conduct towards the public. Okay, I guess that's the easy way to generalize it. Someone perhaps was happy with the way unhappy with the way they got talked to by someone, things like that. There's nothing as far as the numbers that jump out at me as one shared issue, if you will.
I was just curious. And when you do the complaints and you give them, are they mailed to the individual that made are the letters mailed?
Ms. King, I think we lost you a little bit. Can you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I lost a little bit of what you said on the audio, Ms. King.
I said, when you resolve citizen complaints, do you mail the letters to them?
Yeah, our professional standards will give them a disposition of their complaint that way, whether it's no matter which way it goes.
Okay, so the one point I want to get to is because there's been concern like over the past probably 10 years that I've been involved about the number of complaints. And I know that the police department added a sentence to say, if you're unhappy. And I was wondering if it's possible, instead of just adding a sentence, is it possible to have an attachment or a copy of the brochure that goes in the letter of resolution? So that they can't miss that they have the option of talking to the committee if they're displeased with the outcome.
I don't quote me on this, but I believe it's in there. I can verify that, but I believe it is in that letter, Ms. King, and I can verify that as soon as tomorrow morning. I haven't sent one of those out myself in quite a while, but I believe that information is in there.
Thank you. And I think
was told that there was a sentence in there, but nobody ever said that there was a copy of the actual brochure or separate attachment.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So
Okay.
I'd be looking forward to that. So thank you.
Yeah, that'd be good clarity.
I appreciate that.
That'd be good clarity if we can find that out. And I think for a future meeting, it would be nice to meet Officer Armstrong, who is now the professional standards lieutenant, and talk to him and kind of have him explain, the process more in detail, and we can ask him some questions as well too. So I would definitely want to extend the olive branch to him for whether that's our next month's meeting or a future meeting. I think that would be positive. Anything else for us, Chief, before we move on to citizens' opportunity to address the committee?
No, sir. I'll check on that information for Ms. King tomorrow. And that can be easily pushed out in email to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I see Allison, your hand's up, and then Dr. Zagardo, you were up, but then you went back down. So go ahead, Allison, and then Dr. Zagardo, if you have anything that you wanted to mention, go ahead as well too.
So with Chief Marion, he had said that you guys had a professional statistics analyst person, and I was hoping if we can invite him to explain the statistics more in depth, since you didn't know like what type of complaints were being said more. So if someone from your department or anything can explain those statistics to us, so that we can better advise you and the mayor on the community and the relation we need to see, so we know how to handle the outreach and to actually know how what the community's concerns are even before speaking with them, just so we can have an idea of what we would be discussing with everyone in the community.
Thank you, Allison. Dr. Zagardo, was your hand up on purpose, or was that an accident?
Yes, it was. Thanks, Andre. And
Yeah,
thanks,
sure.
Chief. Nice to meet you. I'm always enthralled when people talk about causation versus correlation. And I'd love, along with Allison here, to learn a little more about the relationship that you just said we have between cameras and reductions in complaints. And if the analyst has any regression analysis or documentation, because I know that's what we were hoping, that was the goal of the cameras, was to make everyone more accountable and to say, hey, smile, you're on candid camera and behave. I'd love to see if you have any reports that you could possibly share with us that's actually happening. And I don't know if it would be the same person that Allison just referred to, but I would love to see that. That would be very encouraging. Thank you.
Yes. That's something, again, we have these annual reports every year. We could time that against, when we had the body cameras implemented, which we're going back a couple of years now, and then compare that to before. There's also obviously some other variables that would be in play. But I think that can be easily done. And just to clarify, we do have analysts here, crime analysts, but our professional standards statistics are kept within the professional standards office, which would be the lieutenant, which is now Lieutenant Armstrong. So we don't generally have our civilian crime analysts interacting with records relating to internal affairs. So just want to clarify that these records come out from our lieutenant.
Thank you. So yeah, I think that would be good. Again, extending an invitation to Lieutenant Armstrong and getting a chance to meet him and making the connection and building that relationship. We're in the final couple minutes. Christina, do we have any pre-submitted addresses from citizens?
I do not have any.
Okay. And then now we're at items for the good of the cause. Before anybody else says anything, I do want to yield to Maz real fast. I'm not sure if you all noticed in the notice that was read or the notice that was sent out, access to Zoom is going to be changing. So I'm going to yield to Maz and let her explain this, because I think it's going to be a good opportunity for us to get more engagement in our virtual meeting. So Maz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andre. So this is going to be a continuing process with IT and city legal. It's not just for this committee, it's for all committees and commissions. There are, like Megan mentioned, multiple committees and commissions that are using different formats. We're trying to figure out the best way going forward. We realized that there was possibly some issues with, I guess it didn't come to our attention that public wanted access until this meeting when a media person requested that access, and we provided, of course, we're going to provide it to them. So we just have to make sure that going forward that all committees and commissions are doing the same. It's the first time that it's come to my attention, but given the amendment with Governor Pritzker's Open Meetings Act, that's currently being extended to February 9th and probably will continue to be extended. We just want to make sure that the public is engaged on all fronts if they want to join any committee or commission.
Thank you, Maz. And so I think that's great. I think that allows citizens to attend our meetings how they would if we were in City Hall. And so again, this is just another engagement opportunity for our committee. And so I'm excited about that. And as more information comes, please keep us updated. And that could be something that we could really see some added attendees to our February meeting. So that's great. Thank you, Maz. Any other items for the good of the cause?
Okay, got one.
Go ahead, Chief Boone.
I know Chief Theobald had brought up about his new promotion to lieutenant with Armstrong, and Armstrong is a great, wonderful guy, and he's in a perfect spot. So I just wanted to throw that out there. He's an awesome officer.
Thank you, Chief Boone. Appreciate that, and look forward to definitely meeting with him and working with him through this committee. Any other items for the good of the cause? Ms. King?
My last comment. I tried to do the Open Meetings Act and I had some difficulty because they were trying to associate me with when I did it, when I worked for the state. And so I just want to know that I haven't passed the deadline, have I?
It is still open. The Open Meetings Act training is still open. I would definitely suggest doing it because you do learn a lot. And so, again, definitely between now and our February town hall, I would definitely encourage everyone to complete their Open Meeting Act training because you do learn a lot, and it's very impactful. And it doesn't really take that long. It wasn't that bad. You know, I multitasked and was watching football and just got it done. So definitely suggest taking advantage of that.
Andre, I was just gonna add, I second what Chief Boone said. I'm very excited for him to be involved because his experience, his past experience with community engagement is huge. And I feel that he's gonna have a lot of great things to add to this committee. When I worked with him with PCAV in one of the outreach community meetings, I mean, hearing about all his civic engagement and engaging with the children all the way to adults and stuff. He has a lot of great experience. And when you said his name that he was, or when Chief said his name that he was going to be on that, I was very, very, very excited about that.
That's good. That's awesome. Thank you. If there are no more items for the good of the cause, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting at 7:03.
So moved.
Adjourn.
So we got a motion by Ms. King and a second by Karen J. Wilson. And don't forget the J, because I won't forget the J. Thank you all, good people. This was another positive meeting. You know, definitely there was some passion earlier, but at the end of the day, I think we did get back around to just, you know, that respect is always going to be there. So again, keep that passion, keep that energy. Let's keep that respect. Let's continue to keep getting things done. So you all stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we'll see you all at our February town hall meeting if you are available. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Night,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.